Good morning, all of you. Today we are going to discuss palm, a very important topic. So, when you just look at the skin of palm, it is quite thick and it is not containing any sebaceous gland, but it has lot of sweat glands, because of which in summer season you can especially observe your palm will be sweating a lot. So, it has so many lines as you can see here. These are called as creases. So, as you do dissection, you will just come across few structures. First of all, when you do dissection in a cadaver or a dead body, you see the skin of the palm is highly wrinkled, it's very thick. When you just start exposing it just below the skin, you will find lot of fat, okay, which is arranged in small compartments, and within the skin, like just below the skin in this fat, you will come across a muscle. You can see here this muscle, that is palmaris brevis, in the hypothenar side. Now you come across two names, like when you just look at your palm, there are two eminences. Towards the thumb region there is an eminence at this point which is called as thenar eminence. You can just remember T for thumb and T for thenar. And towards the little finger also, there is one more eminence, which is of course not as prominent as thenar eminence. So this eminence, which is towards little finger, it is called as hypothenar eminence. So just below the skin and within this superficial fascia, where a lot of fat is there, you will come across one small muscle during dissection, which is palmaris brevis. Now, once you cut the skin, lot of fat and then superficial fascia, once you clear off that, then we will go into deep fascia. So the deep fascia modifies itself to form certain like structures like flexor retinaculum, which you have already studied when you were doing the forearm flexor compartment muscles. Then today we will also discuss a triangular expansion of deep fascia in the palm, which is called as palmar aponeurosis. Okay, palmar aponeurosis. Now, when you just go into the digits, dissecting them, you will also come across fibrous flexor sheaths. So now when you talk about palmar aponeurosis itself is a 5 marks question, very, very important topic. So it is a modification of deep fascia in the palm. So palmar aponeurosis is triangular in shape. Its apex is this and base is this. So apex is proximal and base is distal. Okay. Then the functions of palmar aponeurosis is it fixes the skin of palm and thus improves the grip. It also protects the underlying tendons, vessels and nerves. We will see everything. Now let us discuss palmar aponeurosis in detail. So the deep fascia of the palm is modifying itself to form a triangular thickening, which is nothing but palmar aponeurosis. So this, I told you, towards thumb, whatever prominence we have, this is the thenar eminence. Towards little finger, whatever prominence we have, that is the hypothenar eminence. So the deep fascia of the palm is thin over the thenar and hypothenar eminences, but it is thick in the central part of the palm where it is forming a triangular palmar aponeurosis. The palmar aponeurosis is strong, well-defined part of deep fascia of palm which covers the long tendons. That means if you just reflect this, if you cut this, below this, you will come across the tendons, flexor tendons. Like if you observe in the first picture, see here, here also you are finding this whitish sheet which is cut. Actually, that is nothing but palmar aponeurosis. When you just cut this palmar aponeurosis, underlying this you will find the long flexor tendons and also the various muscles of palm. Okay, that is. So that is like then it is, what is the shape you are finding? It is triangular in shape and it is made up of longitudinal fibers and of course few transverse fibers intersecting the longitudinal fibers. Apex is this which is directed proximally towards the wrist and base is directed distally towards the root of fingers. So it is split into how many? Like slips 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, towards the roots of the four fingers except the thumb. Now let us see the details of palmar aponeurosis. So it presents the following features. It has apex, base, towards the little finger is medial border, towards the thumb is lateral border. Okay, then apex is narrow, proximal end of palmar aponeurosis, which is blending with this structure. We already know this is flexor retinaculum. Its superficial fibers are continuous. That means there was one degenerate muscle in the flexor compartment, that is palmaris longus. So proximally you are finding its superficial fibers are in continuation with the tendon of the palmaris longus. Okay, then coming to this point, this is base, which is broad distal end of palmar aponeurosis. Just proximal to the heads of metacarpals, the base is dividing into how many? 1, 2, 3 and 4. It is dividing into 4 longitudinal slips, okay, which is going towards medial 4 digits. That means you should exclude the thumb, second, third, fourth and fifth digits. So each slip, that means this one, each slip, it is actually dividing into 2 further slips, which is finally blending with this green areas, light green areas, you call it as fibrous flexor sheaths of the corresponding digits. Now if you observe between these 4 slips, what are we finding? Red in color is artery, yellow in color is nerve. Okay. Of course, if blue was shown here, which is not shown, that would be vein. So you are finding digital vessels, nerves are actually seen passing between the 4 slips of the palmar aponeurosis. Not only that, you will also see the tendons of lumbricals which are emerging between the intervals of the 4 longitudinal slips. This we will see in detail as we do the muscles of palm. Okay. Then coming to the medial border. I told you towards little finger in the anatomical position, this is the medial border. So the medial edge of the aponeurosis is continuous with the deep fascia covering the hypothenar group of muscles, and this medial border is giving origin to one small muscle which I have shown in the second slide, that is palmaris brevis. Okay, then the medial palmar septum, actually it is extending inwards. That means if you just cut and reflect and see, just below this medial border there will be one septum which is going inwards from this edge to the fifth metacarpal bone. Then the intermediate palmar septum extends inwards and near its edge obliquely to the third metacarpal. That means, see how do you count? I said always counting should start from the thumb. So this side would be first metacarpal, then second metacarpal, third, fourth and fifth. Okay. So medial palmar septum is towards the fifth metacarpal, whereas intermediate palmar septum is towards third metacarpal. Again, I will show you these palmar septa as we do spaces of palm. For now, you just try to understand, from this margin moving downwards, that means deep to the palm, we have medial palmar septum, and at the level of third metacarpal, we have intermediate palmar septum. Now, after medial border is done, now we will come towards lateral border. So the lateral border is the lateral edge of the aponeurosis is in continuation with the deep fascia of the muscles covering the thenar compartment. That means thenar group of muscles. The lateral palmar septum you are finding here, that is extending downwards towards the first metacarpal. So how many such palmar septa we found now? Medial, intermediate and lateral, which is moving from the deeper aspect of this palmar aponeurosis. I will show you one dissected video also to clear your doubts. Once we finish this, you need not worry. Then morphologically, the palmar aponeurosis is representing the degenerated tendon of palmaris longus muscle. What you have seen as one of the muscles of flexor compartment of forearm. So this is a whole picture you are finding. This is the proximal end, this is apex, and this is base. Apex is in continuation with the palmaris longus tendon. Base is splitting into 1, 2, 3, 4 slips, which further divides into superficial and deep slips. Between these 4 slips, you are finding the interdigital vessels and nerves coming. Not only that, you will also find the lumbricals and the interosseous muscles. These are the fibrous flexor sheets with which you will see these 4 slips of palmar aponeurosis are in continuation. Okay, this whole thing, one more picture which shows us the palmar aponeurosis. It is actually, you are finding certain thickenings between the 4 slips, which are actually called as superficial transverse ligament, and between the metacarpal bones we call them as the metacarpal ligaments. Now, functions of palmar aponeurosis. Why are we gifted with this thickening of the deep fascia in the palm? So it is improving the grip. It is protecting the underlying vessels, what we found like. Did we find the vessels? Are we finding vessels and nerves here? No. They are all covered by palmar aponeurosis. That means they are very sensitive structures which are well protected below palmar aponeurosis. It is also giving origin to one small muscle in the hypothenar area, that is palmaris brevis. And of course, I told you from medial end, from intermediate area, and from the lateral end, we have septae which are moving deeper from the deeper aspect of the palmar aponeurosis, moving towards the first, third, and the fifth metacarpal bone, dividing the palm into certain surgical spaces, free spaces, which we will study as we move towards the next lecture, that is spaces of palm. Now coming to the applied aspects, what's wrong? Suppose something happens to this palmar aponeurosis, if there is some infection in the palm and if this palmar aponeurosis is getting thickened, then you will see there is a clinical condition patient presents with, which is called as Dupuytren's contracture. So the inflammation of palmar aponeurosis is resulting in Dupuytren's contracture. Initially, you can see in grade 1, we don't find much like changes, only you will see the thickening in the palmar region. See, this is, let me tell you, this is the proximal phalanx, this is middle phalanx, and this is distal phalanx. Similarly for all the second, third, fourth digit, but for first digit you have only two phalangeal bones. This is the proximal phalanx area and this is the distal phalanx. Okay, then in the grade 2 Dupuytren's contracture, you are finding slight flexion of the ring finger, whereas in grade 3, you are finding complete flexion. So this point is proximal interphalangeal joint, this is middle interphalangeal joint, and this is distal interphalangeal joint. Now let us see in detail what exactly Dupuytren's contracture means. So it is a progressive fibrosis, okay, in the medial part of the palmar aponeurosis. That means if there is any infection, you will see this modification of deep fascia becomes very much thick and it becomes fibrous tissue, which is leading to a condition called as Dupuytren's contracture. So consequently, the medial part of the aponeurosis may undergo progressive thickening to form permanent contracture, resulting in flexion deformity of these two fingers especially, that is little finger and ring finger. The ring finger is most commonly affected. I told you this is the proximal and this is the middle phalanx. So the proximal and the middle phalanges are acutely flexed, as you can see. This is the proximal interphalangeal joint, this is the middle interphalangeal joint, this is the distal. But distal interphalangeal joint is remaining unaffected. Okay, because you see the attachment of this palmar aponeurosis is towards the root. It's not extending up to distal part. That's the reason the distal interphalangeal joint is spared. So in case if there is such like change, then how do we handle such condition? So generally we need to remove this palmar aponeurosis, because as such it is not that much important as long as it is not disturbing our like hand movements, it is fine. But once it is infected and if it has become too much thick, and it has to be surgically removed by a technique called as surgical fasciectomy to improve the hand function. Now, if you just observe, like I just want to tell you one fact which you should compare it when you do the lower limb. So if you observe this palmar aponeurosis, how many slips it is dividing into? 1, 2, 3, 4. Whereas it is not giving any slip to the thumb. So this is actually having one functional significance. Why no slip is going towards the thumb? Because thumb is enjoying lot of freedom of movement. That's how human beings become more superior when you compare with other animals, or when you just observe the evolution part of human being. So the opposition of the thumb movement is very, very important. So this opposition has developed. So I'll show you what is opposition. Just look at me once. See, this is palm and this is our thumb. And this movement is where you can improve your grip to hold something. This movement is opposition. So this opposition movement actually makes human beings much more superior than other vertebrates. Okay. So that opposition movement is actually possible because you are seeing palmar aponeurosis is not sending any slip to the thumb. When there is a similar structure in the sole of the foot also, which is correspondingly named as plantar aponeurosis in the sole. When you look, the great toe of the foot is not enjoying so much freedom of movement as you observe with thumb, because in the foot, the plantar aponeurosis has 5 slips. That means one slip is going towards great toe also in the foot. Okay, that again this point would be repeated when we do lower limb, but just as a comparative feature, I just wanted you to understand this point. So that's what is palmar aponeurosis. Once you are done with palmar aponeurosis, I told you that distal 4 slips of palmar aponeurosis are in continuation with fibrous flexor sheaths of fingers, which are nothing but, again, this is also deep facial thickening. You can see this is the proximal end of fibrous flexor sheath and this is the distal end. Okay, it is attached to the sides of the phalanges. This is proximal phalanx, middle phalanx, distal phalanx. Okay, so proximally, this is the proximal one, which is in continuation with the slip of palmar aponeurosis. Now, this deep facial modification, inside this deep facial modification, what is passing? Let us see an individual picture which helps us to understand much better. These are the fibrous flexor sheaths, this outline. This outline is fibrous flexor sheaths of fingers. Okay, so you can see it is attached to the sides of the pharyngeal bones. Now inside this fibrous flexor sheaths, you are finding the long flexor tendons of the forearm are entering and they are getting inserted. So the superficial one is the flexor digitorum superficialis, below which you are finding flexor digitorum profundus. Flexor digitorum profundus is going quite straight to get inserted into the base of the distal phalanx, whereas flexor digitorum superficialis is actually bifurcating, isn't it? And then it is getting inserted on the either side of the middle phalanx. So they are all enclosed inside the fibrous flexor sheaths. That means tendons are passing through the sheath, and you can see the arrangement of fibers in the fibrous flexor sheaths. See, this is the interphalangeal joint. This is proximal interphalangeal joint, middle interphalangeal joint, distal interphalangeal joint. Proximal in the sense like you have between like the metacarpal bone and the proximal phalanx. This is the proximal interphalangeal joint. Between this middle interphalangeal joint is between the proximal bone and the middle phalangeal bone. This is the middle interphalangeal joint. Distal interphalangeal joint is between the middle phalanx and the distal phalanx. Now, if you just come to this picture, over the interphalangeal joints, you are finding the arrangement of the fibers of the fibrous flexor sheaths. It is like crisscross, X cruciform direction. You call it as cruciform fibers. Whereas in between, over the bones of each phalanx, you can see they are like rings. That's why you call it as annular arrangement. So like ring like thing is annular arrangement. X-like arrangement over the joints is cruciform. So X-like arrangement over the joints will allow the free movement of these interphalangeal joints. Like this interphalangeal joint movements are facilitated because at the interphalangeal joints you will see the arrangement of fibers is in cruciform direction. Okay, whereas over the bones the arrangement of the fibrous flexor sheath, it will be like a ring. Okay, that is annular arrangement. So now, after knowing few facts of the introduction about palm, where you have studied about skin, fascia and certain deep facial modifications, then we will now come to very important topic, which is intrinsic muscles of palm. This itself is an essay question, 15 marks question. The other topics, whatever we have seen, like palmar aponeurosis, fibrous flexor sheaths, they can come as shorts and very shorts. No, I told you two terms with the help of pictures towards the thumb. Again, let me show you in my hand. See here, see, this is my palm, right? So towards the thumb, whatever elevation you are finding, this is the thenar eminence, thumb and thenar. Whereas towards the little finger, whatever eminence we are finding, this is hypothenar. So we have thenar and then we have hypothenar. Okay. So we have thenar muscles and we have hypothenar muscles. And of course, I will show you what are lumbricals, palmar and dorsal interosseous. We will discuss in detail now. Now see here, now the palm has been dissected here in order to show the various muscles. Towards the thumb, what is the name of muscle? I said thenar group of muscles. So thenar group of muscles are 4 in number. Okay, what are those? We have abductor pollicis brevis first. Okay, then medially we have flexor pollicis brevis. Then underlying we have opponens pollicis. Opponens pollicis is responsible for what type of movement? I said opposition. This movement. Okay, this type of movement where you can bring the thumb towards the other fingers, that is opposition. This is brought about by this muscle, that is opponens pollicis. Okay, that is. So when you remove these three muscles, underlying this, you have one more muscle which is called as adductor pollicis. So thenar eminence looks little quite bigger if you just look into your own palm because it has 4 muscles. When you come to hypothenar, that is towards little finger, we have 3 muscles. Abductor digitae minimi, flexor digitae minimi, brevis, and if you just lift, there is one more muscle called as opponens digitae minimi. Opponens, yeah, of course, it is shown here towards the little finger. Opponens digitae minima. So I'll give you one simple code to remember. Towards the thenar, you just remember this code AFO. AFO. A square FO because A comes twice. Towards the little finger, that is the hypothenar, you just remember the code AFO again. Same thing. So if it is thumb, we use the word pollicis. If it is little finger, we use the word minimi. That's how you can just like few mnemonics what we can make out to make our like learning easy and so that we can remember more. Okay, so abductor pollicis brevis A, then F is flexor pollicis brevis, then O is opponens pollicis. Deep inside we have adductor pollicis. To remember easily, A square FO. AFO is for hypothenar group. Same. Abductor digitae minimi, flexor digitae minimi, opponens digitae minimi. Okay, like that. Now, once you see these are one set of muscles is thumb thenar group. Then another set of muscle is little finger hypothenar group. Now these are the long tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus, the whitish ones are, which are actually moving from the forearm to get inserted into the phalangeal bones. No? So between the tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus also you are finding fleshy fibers, right? So these fleshy fibers are called as lumbricals. Okay, so if you count how many are there, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Always I tell you the counting should start from the thumb. Okay, then now Between the, what are these bones we have? These are the metacarpal bones. Start from the thumb counting. First metacarpal, second metacarpal, third metacarpal, fourth metacarpal and fifth metacarpal. So between the metacarpal bones, whatever muscles we are finding, from the palmar aspect, we name them as palmar interossei. From the dorsal aspect, see again, just look at me once. See here. See, this is the palm. So if you just remove the skin, you will see a lot of fat. Once you remove the fat, you will see palmar aponeurosis. Once you remove palmar aponeurosis, you will see underlying muscles like this. Okay. Between the tendons of flexor digitorum profundus, you have lumbricals. Once you remove lumbricals, you will see from the palmar aspect, you will see palmar interossei. This is the dorsum of the hand. Once you remove the skin of the dorsum of the hand, and then you see between the metacarpal bones again, from the dorsum of the hand, you will find the other aspect, the muscles are dorsal interossei muscle. Okay. So how many dorsal interossei you are finding shown here? 4 in number. Okay. Now, let us discuss all these muscles in detail. Anywhere muscles means you should remember origin, insertion, nerve supply, action. Everywhere. Whatever, whether it is forearm muscles or arm muscles or palm muscles, always we should know origin, insertion, nerve supply, action. Now, thumb is this, right? Towards the thumb, this eminence is thenar eminence, and towards the thenar eminence, the muscle is called as thenar group of muscles. So here, this is the thenar eminence, and we are going to see now the thenar group of muscles. So what are those? We have, see, 4 muscles, A, F, O, and one more A. That's the reason I asked you to remember A square F O. Easy. So A is abductor pollicis brevis. Okay. Then we have this first one, bluish one. Abductor pollicis brevis. Medially you have flexor pollicis brevis. Then here you have opponens pollicis, which is shown in green color. If you cut and reflect this, as we have seen in the previous picture, let me take you to the previous picture. If you cut these muscles deeper inside, we have adductor pollicis. 2 heads it has. Isn't it? Straight head and oblique head. We will discuss the origin insertion. Okay, so 4 muscles in the thenar group. Now let us start with abductor pollicis brevis. So the origin is flexor retinaculum, tubercle of the scaphoid and trapezium bone. Insertion is radial side of the base of the proximal phalanx. Instead of using the word radial side, you can also use the word lateral side. Because radius is lateral bone, it has been named as radial side, whichever is easy. Lateral side of the base of the proximal phalanx of the thumb. This is the proximal phalanx, this is the distal phalanx. Because I told you in thumb we have only 2 phalangeal bones, right? Then nerve supply of this abductor pollicis brevis is recurrent branch of median nerve. Action is it abducts the thumb. Abductor, very easy. Just think logically, it becomes easy. You need not by heart anything. See the location and just you can sometimes also guess the muscle should have originated from this bone because laterally we have scaphoid, right? Like that also it will help you to remember the things easily. Put it into your brain. Think logically and just try to read, then it becomes easy. Otherwise, anatomy becomes very tough. Remembering so many things becomes really difficult unless you use your logic. Okay? Then we have flexor pollicis brevis. So flexor pollicis brevis, it has superficial head. See, the one which is in deeper aspect is the flexor pollicis brevis. Okay, so I'll show you the flexor pollicis brevis is here. Okay, so let us see the origin. So it has superficial head which is also coming from flexor retinaculum, then tubercles of trapezium, deep head, trapezoid and capitate bone. Then insertion radial side of the base of the proximal phalanx of thumb. Okay, nerve supply. Like superficial head is supplied by recurrent branch of median nerve, and deep like head is supplied by ulnar nerve. So if you find any muscle supplied by 2 different nerves, you try to remember like such muscle is called as hybrid muscle. hybrid muscle if it is supplied by two different nerves. Now you see here flexor pollicis brevis superficial head is supplied by recurrent branch of median nerve and deep head is supplied by ulnar nerve. Then the action, what is the name of the muscle? Flexor. That's how it is flexing the proximal phalanx of thumb. Okay, then this is the flexor pollicis brevis muscle, the second muscle we have. Then opponent's pollicis, opponent's movement I have shown you many times. Let me show again. Opponent's opposition, that means like counting type of thing is like opposition of thumb, which is brought about by opponent's pollicis. Okay, this retinaculum between the carpal bones you are finding is flexor retinaculum, from where it takes its origin, and also tubercles of trapezium. Insertion is lateral half of the palmar surface of the shaft of first metacarpal bone. Okay, this is the first metacarpal, second, third, fourth, and fifth metacarpals. Nerve supply, recurrent branch of median nerve. Action, opposition of thumb. Okay. Then the last muscle of the thenar group, we have adductor pollicis. So adductor pollicis, it has transverse head and then it has oblique head. So the transverse head is coming from the palmar surface of the third metacarpal bone, and oblique head is coming from the base of the second and third metacarpal bone. Okay, transverse head and oblique head, both of them, they are getting inserted into the medial side of the base of the proximal phalanx of the thumb. Medial side can be also called as ulnar side. This is supplied by deep branch of ulnar nerve. Now if you just simply remember all A4 muscles, all are supplied by the median only. First three muscles you have seen median. Okay, 1, 2, 3, they are supplied by median. Of course, flexor pollicis is also supplied by the, like its deep head is also supplied by the ulnar nerve. But at least, basically, I want you to remember abductor pollicis, AFO muscles are supplied by median nerve, whereas adductor pollicis, it is supplied by deep branch of ulnar nerve. Okay, deep branch of ulnar nerve. First three muscles, median nerve. Last muscle, ulnar nerve. At least that much you try to remember. The name implies adduction. So adduction means, see here, look at me once. So if you bring your thumb near to the midline, you call it as adduction. So this is what is adductor pollicis doing. Okay, then abductor pollicis is this, which is taking the thumb away from the midline, that is abductor. Okay, that is. Now, once you are done with thenar muscles, then we will go towards the eminence of little finger side of the palm. You call it as hypothenar, eminence and hypothenar muscles. Again, of course, palmaris brevis is a small muscle which we found just within the deep fascia, right? Apart from that, AFO is the code which I asked you to remember. So what are those? We have abductor digiti minimi, flexor digiti minimi, and opponent's digiti minimi. Okay. Now let us start with this abductor digiti minimi. So this is small sesamoid bone, that is the pisiform bone. It is developed in the tendon of which muscle? Do you remember? Sesamoid bone is the bone which is developed usually in the tendon, and pisiform is developed in the tendon of flexor carpi ulnaris. This is also a 2 marks question. So pisiform bone is giving origin to abductor digiti minimi, and it is getting inserted on the ulnar side of the base of the proximal phalanx of little finger. Nerve supply, deep branch of ulnar nerve. Action, abduction of little finger. Let me show you. Abduction, see here, abduction is this. When you are bringing your little finger away from the midline is abduction, right? So abduction is brought about by the abductor digiti minimi. Okay, then coming to flexor digiti minimi, it is coming from the flexor retinaculum. As you can see here, this whitish area is flexor retinaculum and the hook of the hamate bone. Then insertion is ulnar side of the base of the proximal phalanx of little finger, and it is supplied by deep branch of ulnar nerve. Action, flexion of little finger. Okay. This is the flexion. Flexion of little finger is brought about by flexor digiti minimi. Okay. Then opponent's digiti minimi. Opponent's digiti minimi is coming again from the flexor retinaculum and the hook of the hamate bone. It's getting inserted on the medial side of the palmar surface of the shaft of the fifth metacarpal bone. It's also supplied by the deep branch of ulnar nerve. It also helps in opposition. Opposition, now see here, this movement. Now your little finger is moving towards the thumb. So opponent's digiti minimi and opponent's pollicis both are coming into action to bring about this movement, opposition of little finger. Okay, that is. Palmaris brevis, I told you it's present very much subcutaneously, isn't it? Origin is coming from the flexor retinaculum and palmar aponeurosis. And it gets inserted within the skin, that is the dermis of ulnar border of palm. Nerve supply is superficial branch of ulnar nerve. So what does it do? Palmaris brevis, it improves the palmar grip. Now, if you have observed this hypothenar group of muscles, so like very easy to remember, all are supplied by deep branch of ulnar. Median nerve disturbance is not there. That means for you to remember easily, I am using such words. So all four, they are supplied by deep branch of ulnar nerve. Okay. Abductor digiti minimi, flexor digiti minimi, opponens digiti minimi, and palmaris brevis. Of course, all are ulnar nerve, but palmaris brevis is superficially situated. That's why it is supplied by superficial branch of ulnar nerve. Okay. So this is something which you see in a nutshell, where if you just have understood the muscles properly, if you learn from this table also, it's more than enough. Okay. Thenar eminence, what are the various muscles you have? Origin is shown, insertion is given, isn't it? Then muscles of thenar, then adductor of the tongue, adductor pollicis we have, medial side we have palmaris brevis, and this hypothenar eminence, again AFO, abductor digiti minimi, flexor digiti minimi, opponens digiti minimi. Okay. Now, once you are done with thenar and hypothenar group, I told you, like, see, this is flexor retinaculum, and below the flexor retinaculum, you are finding all long flexor tendons are moving from the forearm into the palm for the purpose of insertion. So, just below the flexor retinaculum, you will see the tendons of flexor digitorum profundus. Below the flexor digitorum superficialis. Below the flexor digitorum superficialis, we have flexor digitorum profundus. Okay, then these muscles now, the profundus has been shown in grey color for our easy understanding. Now, if you observe, these are the green colored tendons are shown here for flexor digitorum superficialis. Below superficialis, you have flexor digitorum profundus. Review the lecture of flexor muscles again in the forearm. It becomes easy for you to learn again the insertion of these muscles. Okay. Now, see, between the tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus, you can see flexor digitorum profundus, you are finding one, always starting should be from the thumb, right? So this will be 1, 2, 3 and 4 muscles are seen between the tendons of flexor digitorum profundus. So these muscles are called as lumbrical muscles. Okay. The first and second lumbrical muscles are unipinnate because they are having the fibers running only in one direction. Okay. They are unipinnate and they are arising from the thumb aspect. That means lateral side of the profundus tendon. You can also use the word radial side also to indicate lateral side. Okay, of the profundus tendon of the, this finger is index finger, this finger is middle finger. So origin is from the lateral side of the tendon of the index and middle fingers of the tendons of flexor digitorum profundus. Third and fourth, you can see they are bipinnate. That means the fibers are arising in from two directions, right? So these are bipinnate muscles. So these third, fourth bipinnate muscles are coming from the adjacent sides of, see, suppose this is third one, it is coming from the adjacent side of second and third tendon of flexor digitorum profundus, third and fourth tendons of flexor digitorum profundus. If you understand, you need not read anything, you will write in your own words. See, this green color tendons are flexor digitorum profundus. This is first tendon, this is second tendon, third tendon, and fourth tendon. I told you all these tendons should be counted from the thumb side. Okay. From the lateral side of the first two tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus, we have first two lumbricals which are unipinnate. Third and fourth are bipinnate, and third one is arising from the like second and third tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus. Fourth one is from the third and fourth tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus. Right? You can also use the word this is for the middle finger, this is for the ring finger, and this is for the little finger. These words you can use. Now, insertion. This is going and getting inserted into dorsal digital expansion. While discussing the extensor digitorum muscle in my previous class, I talked about dorsal digital expansion. I told you it receives the insertion of lumbricals and also interosseous. Okay, so there it goes, right? Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. They are going like this. This point. This point. So this point is nothing but the dorsal digital expansion of one. I mean medial four fingers in the sense second, third, fourth, and fifth fingers. Okay. Then now lumbricals are always a question of fancy to the examiners. Definitely this question would be asked because nerve supply is different. First two muscles are supplied by median nerve. Last two muscles are supplied by deep branch of ulnar nerve. Okay. First two, 1 and 2, they are supplied by median nerve. 3 and 4, they are supplied by deep branch of ulnar nerve. Now coming to the action of these lumbricals, what do they do? So they flex the digits at this metacarpophalangeal joint and extension of interphalangeal joint. Let me show you, just look at me once. See here, this is metacarpo, these are our metacarpals. These knuckles are nothing but metacarpophalangeal joints. So the flexion of metacarpophalangeal joint and extension of interphalangeal joint. This is extension. If it is straight, it is extension. So flexion of metacarpophalangeal joint and extension of the interphalangeal joints is brought about by the action of lumbricals. Okay, that is. So these are the dorsal digital expansions which we have discussed in our previous class. I told you this is the extensor digitorum muscle which goes in the middle, and this dorsal digital expansion, it receives the insertion of lumbricals. Not only lumbricals, it also receives the insertion of the following interosseous muscles which we will be discussing now. Right? Okay, this is the flexor retinaculum. Below that, green tendons are flexor digitorum superficialis. Gray in color tendons are shown for flexor digitorum profundus. In between them, you are finding the lumbrical muscles. Okay, then. Now, after talking about the lumbricals, now let us discuss about the palmar and dorsal interosseous. Okay, see these are the metacarpal bones. What are, let's number them. Thumb is first metacarpal, second, third, fourth, and fifth metacarpals. Now in between them you are finding certain earthworm like muscles like lumbricals and all these muscles, they look like worms. Okay, so between the bones, if they are seen from the palmar aspect, you call them as palmar interosseous. And if you see from behind, from the dorsum of the hand, you name them as dorsal interosseous. From the palmar aspect of the hand, we name them as the palmar interosseous. Okay. So these are for palmar interosseous. These are the dorsal interosseous muscle. So once you know, like we have such muscles between the metacarpal bones, now let us try to understand their origins and insertions. So the origin, this is the, always I told you counting should start from thumb. So this one is the first one. So ulnar side of the base of the first metacarpal bone is the origin, isn't it? Then second is coming from, see here, this one, the ulnar side of the shaft of the second metacarpal bone, right? Third and fourth are coming from the lateral sides, right? Towards thumb is the lateral side, radial side of the fourth and fifth metacarpal bone. And base, now if you just see the insertion, it is just getting inserted into the base of the proximal phalanx of the corresponding digits on the side of their origin. Okay, from the side of their origin. So first palmar interosseous into the base of the proximal filings of the first digit. Second is into the base of the proximal filings of the second digit. Third is into the fourth proximal filings of the fourth digit, and fifth is getting inserted into the base of the proximal filings of the fifth digit, right? Okay, like that. So if you just observe in the middle, the third metacarpal bone and the third proximal phalanx, they neither give origin nor they receive any insertion of any palmar interossea. Okay. Now these are actually getting, to be more specific, they are getting inserted into the dorsal digital expansions. Okay, now when you see from the dorsum of our hand, these like bipinnate muscles, what you are finding, these are all dorsal interossea. So these bipinnate muscles origin from the palmar surface of the shaft, isn't it, of the adjacent metacarpal bones. Okay, that is the origin from all corresponding. Suppose if you number it as 1 from the from the medial aspect of the first metacarpal bone, and the lateral aspect of the second metacarpal bone is the origin, and insertion is into the base of the proximal phalanx of the index finger. Just look at this image, you will write on your own, right? Then second dorsal interossea is coming from the corresponding sides of the second and third metacarpal bone and getting inserted into the base of the proximal phalanx of the middle finger on the lateral side. Third dorsal interossea is coming from the corresponding sides of the shafts of the third and fourth metacarpal bones and getting inserted into the base of the proximal phalanx on the medial side, right? Then fourth dorsal interossea is coming from the shafts of the fourth and fifth metacarpal bones bipinnate and getting inserted into the base of the proximal phalanx of which finger? This is ring finger, like that. If you understand the picture, you draw for yourself, you write for yourself, you just give one reading and you will be able to put in your own words. It is not at all mandatory to use textbook language. Please remember, you can use your own language, easy language, which should be so clear that the examiner is understanding what you are trying to tell. That's it. No textbook language. Don't worry or wonder how much to remember, how much to read, what to do. Nothing like that. Okay? Try to understand, repeat, read for more times, at least 3 to 4 times each topic so that it goes into your long-term memory. Otherwise, anatomy is not really easy to remember. Okay, it's not something like very much concept oriented. Memory also matters a lot. Okay, now see here, these are the palmar and dorsal interossea muscles which are shown. Okay, this is dorsal interossea 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are palmar interossea 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Now, all these muscles, very simple to remember, they are all supplied by deep branch of ulnar nerve. Okay, now palmar interossea are adductors. Let me show you once. See here. Just look at this, my palm. So all palmar interossea, they bring about adduction of fingers. Whereas dorsal interossea, they bring about abduction. This is abduction, okay, which is brought about by dorsal interossea. This is adduction, which is brought about by palmar interossea, right? Now, palmar interossea, not only they bring about adduction of fingers, they also bring about flexors of metacarpophalangeal joints, extensors of interphalangeal joints. Okay. Similarly, even the dorsal interossea. Not only they are abductors, but also the flexors of same action, metacarpophalangeal joint and extensors of interphalangeal joint. Right? Okay, so this picture you are finding, if all phalangeal bones are brought towards midline, you call it as adduction, and if they are moving, fanning outside, outwards, you call it as abduction, which I have shown you just now. Abduction, when you take it away, adduction, when you bring it close, right? What I have shown you. Again, this is in a nutshell which helps you to just simplify your learning and make your learning very easy. You have a table here which shows you lumbricals, origin insertion, palmar interossea, origin insertion, dorsal interossea, origin insertion. At the same time, you have all the muscles nerve supply and action, which we have actually discussed correspondingly with each muscle. Once you just look at the PowerPoint very carefully, In order to review, you can use these tables, right? Okay. So just to make you remember easily, I'll give you one hint. Except for thenar group of muscles, remaining all muscles, and the first two lumbricals, of course, remaining all muscles are supplied by ulnar nerve. That means most of the muscles of the palm are supplied by ulnar nerve, deep branch of ulnar nerve. That means the fine intricate movements of the palm, what we do, isn't it? The grip what we get, we hold the things, we write the things, we play music, we do so many things, grip and everything is coming from the palm. That means these fine movements, fine intricate movements of the muscles of the palm is brought about by the nerve supply, which is coming from which nerve? Ulnar nerve. So ulnar nerve is the chief nerve of the palm. That's why it is also called as musician's nerve. Ulnar nerve is called as musician's nerve because it brings about all fine intricate actions of the muscles of palm, writing, playing music, all. That is what is making us superior, right? We are able to do so many movements with our palm, gripping. Even when you just look into the brain, when we do neuroanatomy, the area which is occupied by the palm and the cerebrum is quite big, and in that also thumb occupies much more greater area. It is all based on how much amount of work we are using with a particular part of our body. Okay, now if you want to test the adduction movement, this is how you check. You just give a piece of paper between the fingers. If the person is able to bring the fingers close to each other, bring about adduction movement, then his palmar interosseous are working normally. Okay, this is adductor pollicis when you are checking for the thumb adductor pollicis muscle, right? Hope you understood. And I actually also want to show you one small video so that you will have a clear understanding. So now see here, this video will help us to understand the dissection of palm. Okay. So here in the forearm, whatever we are finding, these are all long flexor tendon muscles which have been cut. Flexor retinaculum also has been cut. Okay, this side, whatever we are finding is little finger, then this means this is the thenar group of muscles. And the most superficial muscle in the thenar group, which is seen just below the skin, right? Within the deep fascia, what is the name of this muscle? Palmaris brevis, which is supplied by the superficial branch of the ulnar nerve, right? Isn't it? So this is palmaris brevis. Now, this whole thing is palmar aponeurosis, which is looking like a triangle, this white sheet. Now let us lift this and see. This is palmar aponeurosis. This is apex and this is base. Apex is towards flexor retinaculum. You can see how continuous it is with the tendon of which muscle? Palmaris longus, right? Isn't it? Palmaris longus tendon is in continuation with the apex of this modification of deep fascia, that is the palmar aponeurosis. This is apex and this is base. Okay. So base is dividing into how many slips? I said 1, 2, 3 and 4, which goes and merges with the fibrous flexor sheets, right? These are the fibrous flexor sheets. The arrow what I am showing you now. Okay, these are thumb. So if it is thumb, thenar group, and if it is little finger, hypothenar. These are thenar group, these are hypothenar group, right? So in this thenar group, let us see the muscles. I told you AFO. Okay, A stands for abductor pollicis. So whatever is being lifted now and it's being shown for you now is abductor pollicis. Then you have, this is flexor pollicis. Medially, I said, if you remember, flexor pollicis. Okay. Then lower down, we have, see here, if you just cut and see, flexor pollicis is being cut. Now, abductor pollicis is being cut. So once you reflect abductor pollicis and flexor pollicis, are you able to see this muscle? This is opponent's pollicis. How big the muscle is, right? Isn't it? These are all supplied by median nerve, right? Okay, if you just dig it more, which muscle you will see? Adductor pollicis. Okay. Now, see here, you are finding, then, see here, what are we finding here? These are the other muscles of the hypothenar group. So this is abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi. Lateral is abductor, medial is flexor digiti minimi. Okay, then in this underside you have opponents digiti minimi. Okay, abductor digiti minimi, flexor digiti minimi and opponents digiti minimi. These are the three muscles we have. Okay, what are these white tendons, long tendons? Flexor digitorum superficial is below this. You will see flexor digitorum profundus. Okay, you can see this profundus is actually coming out between the slips of flexor digitorum superficialis. Above one is superficialis, below one is profundus, which goes to the base of the distal phalanx. This is the profundus muscle. My arrow. Focus on my arrow. No, this is. Now, if you observe and if you lift, we are actually seeing there are certain synovial connections also between these tendons and the bone. These are actually called as vincula. I'll tell in my next lecture. Vincula, where pencil is being scrolled. This is quite long in size. You call it as vincula longa. And the small in size synovial tendon, synovial sheath, which is connecting this tendon to the bone, you call it as vincula brevia. Vincula brevia. I'll tell you again in the lecture. This is vincula longa and this is vincula brevia, which is actually suspending the long tendons to the bone, right? Okay, flexor digitorum profundus, flexor digitorum superficialis. Now, between the tendons of flexor digitorum profundus, what are the muscles we see? Earthworm muscles, I said. What are the muscles we see? We start actually we start counting from the thumb, right? We call it as lumbrical. So this is the first lumbrical which is being lifted. Okay, first lumbrical. Then this is the second lumbrical. This is third lumbrical. And between these tendons, this is fourth lumbrical. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Four lumbricals we see. If you observe here, actually nerve is also seen. Which nerve is supplying first to two lumbricals? This is nothing but median nerve. Median nerve. Anyhow, nerves will be next class. Okay. So these are the things which I want you to remember. First lumbrical, second lumbrical, okay, third lumbrical, and fourth lumbrical. First two are supplied by median nerve, second two are supplied by deep branch of ulnar. Now the three muscles have been removed, abductor pollicis, flexor pollicis and opponens pollicis. Then deeper inside we have transverse head and oblique head. Which muscle? Adductor pollicis. This is adduction, adductor pollicis. Okay. So adductor pollicis. Once you reflect these tendons of lumbricals, now this is palmar aspect. Between the metacarpal bones, we are finding four palmar interossei. Count from the thumb. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, 1, 2, this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, these are what muscles? Those were palmar, and this is dorsum of hand, you see. Again, count from the thumb. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 palmar dorsal interossei. Okay, okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4, right? So these are dorsal interossei. All dorsal interossei are also supplied by deep branch of ulnar nerve. This brings about abduction, I said. These interossei, they bring about abduction, whereas palmar interossei, they bring about adduction, right? Okay. That's what I wanted you to remember. Okay. These are all again dorsal interossei which are being shown, right? Okay. So the skin has been removed. Again, palmar aspect is being shown. This is thenar group. This is hypothenar group. These are all long flexor tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus, flexor digitorum superficialis. These are hypothenar muscles. Okay. After this, nerve discussion would be there, which you have to discuss and we'll see later once the class finishes. Theory is not yet done, right? Okay. So that's what I want you to remember. So all about palm. I hope you understood. Okay, so just try to remember the things, it becomes easy for you. We have discussed many things, right? So we have talked about palmar aponeurosis, we have talked about fibrous flexor sheaths, isn't it? Then we have see palmar aponeurosis. Once you cut, you have seen thenar group of muscles, hypothenar group of muscles. Between the tendons of flexor digitorum profundus, we have seen 1, 2, 3, 4 lumbricals. Once you remove lumbricals, you have seen the palmar interossea. From the other aspect, we have seen dorsal interossea. This is the tendon of flexor digitorum profundus. You can see the one which is splitting and enclosing is the flexor digitorum superficialis. No? These are the fibrous flexor sheaths which are annular and cruciform at the joints point. So all these things I want you to remember. If you have any doubts, anytime you can get back to me. Thank you.